They laughed when she walked in, ignored her, tried to break her in silence and in sabotage. But in the end, the girl they tried to erase became the one they'll never forget. As we dive into this story, don't forget to like the video and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe for more powerful ones. The moment Jade Thompson stepped into Halston University's historic debate hall, it was like someone had hit pause on the room. Conversations trailed off, glances were exchanged, and the quiet hum of privilege sharpened into something colder: exclusion. She knew what they saw: a 17-year-old girl from Atlanta's Southside, sneakers a little worn, blazer not quite the right shade of navy, eyes too watchful for someone just lucky to be here. At the front of the room stood Dr. Simone Ellis, all sharp lines and sharper expectations, reading off speaker placements for the National Scholars Forum. She didn't acknowledge Jade beyond a flick of the eyes, but that was enough. The message was clear: you're not what we expected. From the back of the room, a voice sliced through the tension. Did someone take a wrong turn into the admissions tour? Heads turned. Laughter followed, quiet but brutal. Landon Whitaker. Tall, smug, legacy student with a Harvard-bound resume and a fan club of future senators. Jade didn't respond. She clutched her debate notebook tighter and kept her gaze forward. "That's enough, Mr. Whitaker," Dr. Ellis said, not looking up. The room stilled again. The silence said it all: she wasn't defending Jade, just maintaining order. The rest of the day was a blur of resumes, prep groups, and polite gatekeeping. No one asked Jade to join their study circle. They traded prep material like secret handshakes. Jade sat alone under the old oak by the library, flipping through pages filled with rebuttal drills, handwritten notes, and scribbles from long nights at her kitchen table, many of them written with her mom's help after her shift at the Waffle House. "Don't worry about looking like them," her mom used to say. "Just make sure they hear you." That night, the topic for the opening elimination round was posted. Resolved: socioeconomic status should not be a factor in university admissions. The irony was thick. Jade didn't laugh. She stayed up all night in her dorm with an ancient laptop, reading court decisions, tracking admissions data, and watching old debate clips until her eyes blurred. No one offered help. No one expected her to last past round one. The next morning, the hall looked like something out of an academic cathedral: arches, velvet banners, a stage that demanded prestige. Jade was last on the speaker roster. The spot they give you when they're not expecting anything memorable. Landon, of course, went first. His speech was a blend of polished charm and dog whistle elitism. He ended with a smirk and applause. Jade waited, hands icy cold, back straight. When her name was called, some in the audience actually whispered, "Who?" She walked to the podium and adjusted the mic. Her voice was quiet, but steady. "Before I begin, I just want to say thanks to Halston for the invitation, even if some people think I slipped through a crack in the floor." A few chuckles. Some gasps. Dr. Ellis didn't blink. Then she started. No frills, no theatrics. Just facts, logic, and lived experience. She spoke of broken public schools with mold in the ceilings. Of test prep centers that never opened in her zip code. Of brilliance that had nothing to do with zip codes or family names. "Some of us didn't get a golden ticket. We built our own train." Her final words hit like a challenge. Removing socioeconomic consideration doesn't make the system fair. It just hides the unfairness better. Silence. Then, scattered applause. Not loud, but real. Landon rolled his eyes. Jade walked past him without flinching. Later, the rankings were posted. She made the cut. Ranked 14. Barely, but she was in. Behind her, someone muttered, "Probably a diversity pick." Another scoffed, "No way she outscored Priya." Jade heard them. But she smiled to herself anyway. They could doubt her all they wanted. She was still here. And that was just the beginning. The topic for round 2 landed in Jade's inbox late that night. Resolved: affirmative action does more harm than good. She stared at the words, her fingers frozen on the keyboard. It wasn't just a topic. It was a loaded trap. To them, she was affirmative action, the exception that proved their rule. The girl from nowhere. The one they believed was sitting in their space. For a moment, her confidence wavered. What if they were right? What if she was only here because someone needed a box ticked? Her phone buzzed. Mom? Baby, don't you ever shrink to fit their lies. You didn't slip in. You broke in. Jade closed her eyes. Exhaled. Then she opened a dozen browser tabs and started building her case. She didn't just prepare to defend affirmative action. She studied its critics, its legal history, and its unintended consequences. If they tried to trap her, she'd already know every corner of the cage, and the way out. The morning of the second round was brutal. Cold wind whipped across Halston's courtyard as Jade walked into the hall, notes clutched tight. Landon was already there, smiling too wide, laughing with his friends like nothing in the world could touch him. She caught a look in his eye, something almost expectant. Her round started. Her opponent, a senior from a Boston prep school, opened with a slick performance. Cited stats, leaned hard on colorblind meritocracy, and wrapped it all in polished sarcasm. Then Jade stood up. Her voice wasn't flashy, but it didn't need to be. She spoke of systems, how the playing field was never even. How her high school had one guidance counselor for 600 students. How SAT prep wasn't an option when your mom had to borrow a neighbor's Wi-Fi just so you could download assignments. Affirmative action isn't a handout, she said. It's a course correction. She paused. Looked directly at the judges. And if I'm here because someone believed that potential matters as much as privilege, then thank God they did. The room didn't erupt. But it shifted. When the scores came out later that day, she'd climbed to rank 9. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. That night, as she worked on prep for the quarterfinals, a strange email hit her inbox. Subject: urgent. Topic: reassignment, debate committee, halston.edu. Due to scheduling issues, your topic has been changed. Resolved. Creativity is punished more than rewarded in modern education. Failure to comply may result in disqualification. Jade blinked. Her stomach turned. None of the other competitors mentioned any changes. No updates from the official site. No notification from Dr. Ellis. Still, the email looked legitimate. And time was running out. She shoved aside all her notes and started from scratch, again. By 2 a.m., she was exhausted, eyes stinging, heart pounding. But the speech was done. Or so she thought. The next morning, Jade arrived to check in. Ms. Thompson, Dr. Ellis's voice called sharply from across the hall. Why haven't you submitted your summary for today's topic? Jade blinked. I received the change notification. The creativity debate. Dr. Ellis took her phone. Scanned the message. Her face tightened. This didn't come from us. She turned the phone to show Jade the address. Slightly off. A new perfect fake. Jade's chest caved in. Someone had sabotaged her. She looked across the room, and there he was. Landon Whitaker. Watching her. Grinning, barely. She felt the betrayal hit like cold water to the face. This wasn't just competition. It was war. And she had 10 minutes to deliver a speech she hadn't prepared for. As the coordinator called her name, Jade stood frozen, heart racing, mind blank. Then she heard it. That voice. Her mother's voice in her head again. You didn't survive all that to fall apart here. Walk up. Jade grabbed a blank notepad, found a quiet corner, and started scribbling furiously. Technology. Communication. Authenticity. Loss. Disconnection. She reached the podium still unsure of how she'd get through it. But then she began. I didn't prep this speech the way I planned. Because someone made sure I couldn't. But I'm going to speak anyway, not from research, but from truth. She spoke of how tech had changed her friendships, how social media replaced real conversations, how kids in her neighborhood texted their emotions but forgot how to say them out loud. Maybe the erosion of real communication isn't theoretical, she said. Maybe it's already here. It wasn't her most polished performance. But it was raw, real, and human. When she stepped down, the judges whispered. The crowd was still. Landon's smirk had flattened. That evening, the quarterfinal scores came in. Jade Thompson, rank 5. Advancing to semifinals. She stared at the screen, stunned. Even after everything, she'd made it. As she turned away from the board, a shadow appeared beside her. Dr. Ellis. They've traced the email, she said quietly. It was spoofed. Not officially Halston domain. We are investigating further. Jade nodded, trying to stay calm. You're not just debating people, Dr. Ellis added. You're debating the institution itself. And you're winning. That night, Jade didn't cry. She didn't rage. She just wrote. Because they had declared war in the shadows. But she was done hiding. Jade woke up early the next morning, the campus still cloaked in mist. The stone steps outside the dorm were damp with dew, and the silence gave her space to breathe. The semifinal debate topic had just been released. Resolved, online activism is less effective than grassroots organizing. She couldn't help but smile. Finally, a topic she didn't have to imagine. She had lived it. In her neighborhood, the only reason the public library reopened after the pandemic was because someone's Twitter thread went viral. A GoFundMe for her neighbor's roof repair had raised more than FEMA ever gave. Petitions, fundraisers, hashtags. They mattered. And they had saved real people. Jade threw herself into research with fresh fire. She pulled studies from Pew Research, articles on the Arab Spring, case studies on the Black Lives Matter movement. She even included her uncle's story, how after Hurricane Katrina, it was Facebook groups and digital crowdfunding that helped their family find housing, food, and hope when no official system came through. That speech wrote itself. But the anxiety didn't go away. She couldn't shake the feeling that something else was coming. And she was right. When she arrived at Halston's marble-lined debate hall for the semifinal, the room buzzed louder than before. Reporters from a local news outlet were setting up in the back. Word had spread about the girl from Atlanta who kept making it through, despite the whispers, the sabotage, and the odds. Her opponent, Priya Shah, was no joke. A debate prodigy from a New Jersey prep academy with a national title already under her belt. Polished, poised, and terrifyingly good. When the debate started, Priya came out swinging. Her argument was clean, textbook perfect. She cited grassroots wins like the Montgomery bus boycott, Occupy Wall Street, and countless case studies from political science journals. She smiled after every well-landed blow. Jade listened quietly, then stood. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried. Movements start in the streets, she began, but they reached the world online. She spoke of how teenagers from her block organized food drives over Instagram. Of how a 15-second TikTok helped change school lunch policies in Atlanta. Of how voices that had been ignored for generations were now amplified, retweeted, reshared, reprinted in places that had never cared before. Digital activism doesn't replace grassroots, she said, it extends it. It gives it wings. Then she paused, looked toward the judges. And for kids like me, who don't have a senator for an uncle or a trust fund for a MIC, the internet is our stage. Her voice cracked slightly as she added, it was the only one we ever had. The room went still. Even Priya looked shaken. By the time the moderator called the debate, the crowd knew. The winner, advancing to the finals, Jade Thompson. The applause was real now. Loud. Honest. And Jade, who'd walked in a ghost, walked out a name. But victory came with shadows. As she gathered her things, Dr. Ellis approached quietly. Be ready, she said. Tomorrow's final won't just test your argument. It will test your presence. Jade frowned. What do you mean? But Ellis didn't explain. She just handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was the final round topic. Resolved, traditional institutions are the best guardians of academic integrity. Jade stared at the paper. The irony hit like a slap. She had been sabotaged by those very institutions. Silenced. Ignored. Mocked. And now she was being asked to defend, or challenge, the idea that they protected fairness? Across the room, Landon Whitaker leaned against the wall, arms folded, watching her. They both knew. This final wasn't just for a trophy. It was him vs her. System versus soul. Legacy versus proof. And as he smirked and turned away, Jade realized something. They had never expected her to make it this far. Now that she had, they'd either break her, or she'd break them. The morning of the final round dawned gray and cold, as if the sky itself understood the gravity of what was about to unfold. Sanders Auditorium at Halston University was packed. Faculty in suits, alumni in scarves and blazers, students in school colors. Even a few cameras lined the back row, some from the university, others from local news, hoping to catch a story worth remembering. They had all heard by now. The public school girl from Atlanta. The elite heir from Connecticut. Jade Thompson versus Landon Whitaker. The outsider versus the golden boy. Jade stood backstage, notebook in hand, her fingers tracing the edges of a page worn soft by rewrites. Her heart was pounding, not with fear, but purpose. Every late night, every whisper, every invisible door she kicked open had led here. Across the stage curtain, Landon was laughing with two friends from his circle, his voice too loud, too smug. "All I need is one cross-exam and she folds," he said. "She's not built for this kind of room." But Jade didn't look at him. She didn't need to anymore. Dr. Ellis appeared beside her quietly. "You're about to step into a room that wasn't built for you," she said. "But that stage doesn't belong to them. Not today." Jade nodded, tightened her ponytail, and walked out. The moderator stepped to the center of the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final round of the 2025 Holston National Debate Invitational. Representing the Northeast Private League, Landon Whitaker. Representing the Southeast Regional Public Forum, Jade Thompson." Applause rose, louder on Landon's side of the room. His circle was thick in the front row, clapping like the crown was already his. Jade's section was quieter, just a few scattered classmates, one student who had clapped for her earlier, and a local news crew filming every second. The topic: resolved. Traditional institutions are the best guardians of academic integrity. Landon went first. He was flawless, polished, confident, rehearsed to the second. He cited Holston's own charter, quoted Ivy League ethics professors, referenced 5 decades of academic policy studies. He painted a picture of tradition as protection, of structure as safety. And the crowd ate it up. Then Jade stood. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't perform. She testified. "Before I speak," she began, "I want to tell you a story. A girl gets an email the night before a debate. It changes her topic. Says she'll be disqualified if she doesn't comply. She stays up all night rewriting a speech she never needed to rewrite, only to learn it was fake." The room stirred. Landon sat up straighter. Jade looked out at the audience, at the rows of stone faces, skeptical eyes, folded arms. "What do you call an institution that allows sabotage like that to go unchecked? Is that integrity? Or is it protection of the familiar?" The silence that followed was deafening. She pivoted to historical examples, how universities once barred women, then black students, then anyone who didn't match their definition of worthy. She pulled data on legacy admissions, policy loopholes, and the weaponization of tradition. "Academic integrity doesn't live in buildings," she said. "It lives in courage. And sometimes, the ones protecting that courage aren't wearing blazers. They're wearing fear. Fear of not belonging. Fear of standing up anyway." Then came cross-examination. Landon came at her with fire, cutting questions, sharp retorts, interruptions. Jade didn't flinch. Every time he tried to twist her words, she pivoted back to truth. "You're moving the goalposts, Mr. Whitaker," she said calmly. "Let's return to the resolution." The audience shifted. Even faculty leaned forward now. By the time rebuttals began, Landon was unraveling. His voice lost its edge. His rebuttal felt flat, defensive. Jade's, on the other hand, burned. "If traditional institutions were perfect guardians of fairness," she said, "I wouldn't have had to fight my way through sabotage just to stand here. But I'm still here. And maybe that's all the proof we need that tradition doesn't define truth." When she stepped back from the podium, the auditorium went silent. Then, the applause. Full. Loud. Real. Even some of Landon's peers clapped, slowly, unsure, but clapping. Backstage, they waited. Landon didn't say a word. Jade sat alone on the bench, hands trembling, heart still thudding in her chest. Dr. Ellis appeared, envelope in hand. "The judges have reached their decision." The two competitors were called back onto the stage. Cameras rolled. The moderator opened the envelope slowly. And the winner of the 2025 Holston National Debate Invitational is Jade Thompson. She didn't move at first. Didn't breathe. Then the clapping hit her ears, the crowd rising, a few standing, others stunned. But it didn't matter. She'd done it. Landon stormed off stage without a word. Dr. Ellis took her hand. "You didn't just win a trophy," she said. "You left a crack in the ceiling." Later that night, Jade sat on the campus steps under the stars. Alone, notebook in her lap, heart finally still. Dr. Ellis found her again. "You should know," she said. "The administration found the source of the fake email." Jade turned slowly. "Who?" "Landon. The evidence is clear. He won't face expulsion. Halston protects its legacy. But his future in competitive debate." She gave a small smile. "Over." Jade swallowed hard. "I didn't want revenge." Dr. Ellis nodded. "You didn't seek it. You just survived it. And that's louder." Weeks later, back home in Atlanta, Jade sat on her porch as the sun set. Her mom handed her an envelope, Halston letterhead. She opened it slowly. An invitation to Halston's summer pre-law honors program. Full scholarship. With a handwritten note from Dr. Ellis. "I can't wait to see what you do next." Jade smiled, tears catching in her lashes. She had walked into their world. They tried to erase her. She made them remember her name. And this time, she wasn't asking permission to belong. She was rewriting the rules. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that inspire, challenge, and stay with you.